I welcome you all to the session of hydraulic machines, and the topic of our today's discussion is the system resistance curve. In fact, we have started discussing on this topic in the last class, and we have seen that the head discharge, that is H cube curve. So, if we try to recall that when we talk about H cube curve, definitely of a radial flow pump, then we have seen that there are two different H cube curves. One is the curve for the pump itself, another is the curve for the system. So, if we try to now draw the curve for the system for the pump itself, then it looks like this, and this is known as shut-off head. Okay. And then say we have a pump, radial flow pump, which is used to supply water from a tank to another place, or tank which is situated say certain height distance. So, this is H d, and also the pump is drawing water from a tank which is located H s distance below the pump datum, that is the axis of the impeller. So, pump datum, which is important. So, again I am writing pump datum, that is the axis of the impeller. It is taken. Now, so I have drawn schematically this radial flow pump, which is taking water from a tank which is situated H s distance below the pump datum and supplying water to a place which is H d distance above the pump datum. There will be definitely other accessories like valves, fittings, but we did not show those here. Now, if the H cube curve of the pump is this, so this is the pump individual curve, this is the pump own H cube characteristic curve, and if we try to superimpose the H cube curve of the system itself, rather the system in which the pump is equipped, the system in which the pump is placed to supply water from one place to the other place. Okay. So, now if we try to draw the system resistance curve, then in fact we have identified that the total resistance of the system that can be retained, there are two different parts, one is H static, another is H dynamic. Okay. So, H static, you can see that this is nothing but the height of suction side height and the delivery side height of the tank from the pump datum. Okay. Now, dynamic, so this is, that is what, if I can recall correctly, we have expressed this can be written in terms of this quantity k q square, and this is basically H static, H suction plus H delivery. Okay. So, you can see that if we try to represent this curve in this plane, that is H q plane, it will be like this. So, if I now try to draw this using different color, say I am writing. So, this is the static part. So, this is H static and this part is H dynamic. Okay. And these two curves intersects at a point and that is the operating point of the pump. And if we try to calculate the head and discharge corresponding to this operating point. So, this is Q operating and this is H operating. Now, we also have discussed about one important fact that when we are getting the pump own characteristic, then there are different losses ideally. So, if I try to draw over here, ideally the HQ characteristic curve of the pump should have a continuously drooping characteristic, that is very essential and this is also very important from the perspective of pump or pumping operation, right. Now, instead of having this type of curve, so this is what is important a pump designer should look into, and instead of having this kind of a curve which is having continuously rather a drooping characteristic. So, with increasing H with increasing Q, H is decreasing, right, and this is the sort of head. But if we now look at this schematic, we can see this is not the case, and initially, so I mean if I try to superimpose that curve over here, so ideally the pump should have characteristics like this, okay. But we can see here is loss, rather losses, also we have losses. If I now try to set this particular portion using different color, then this is the area which represents loss or losses. Now, so we can see that there are losses both at the suction side as well as delivery side. So, the loss or losses at the suction side, that is what is known as separation losses. In fact, I have discussed this aspect, and also recirculation losses is there at the pump delivery side because of the blockage. It is very unlikely that the delivery valve will remain fully open always. So, that is of course depending upon the system requirement. We need to sometimes have a better control of that a discharge which is coming out from the pump. So, because of the partial opening of the delivery valve or valves which are there in different branch lines, that losses will be there. Okay. So, basically this loss is the recirculation loss because of the delivery valve which is there at the pump delivery side, definitely because we need to have a control, and also this loss is known as separation loss, that is there at the pump suction side. So, now if that is what we have understood, and that is in fact because of these losses, instead of having the nature of the curve like this, we are getting this, but this is not, again I am telling, desirable, and I am going to discuss very soon. Okay. So, this is the loss that is because of the separation. Why it is happening? Because flow velocity at the suction pipeline is not uniform. Again I am telling flow, that is what we have studied in classical fluid mechanics, that when flow takes place through a closed conduit, so definitely flow over a free solid boundary layer will form, and since it is having viscous fluid, so that because of this momentum loss in the region very close to the wall, so there will be that recirculation, formation of eddies, etc. Fine. So, that separation loss will be there. Okay. Now, why I am going to discuss this aspect? Because I am not going to discuss that the boundary layer development, but at least from the operational point of view of pump, we should understand that this is not desirable. So, the separation loss at the pump suction site, which will definitely takes place, is not desirable at all. What it does, it you can see from this diagram is that the shut off rate is getting reduced. Now, if shut off rate is reduced, this is very detrimental for the pump operation, right. Okay. Why it is so? Let me discuss. So, now if I try to draw the H cube curve and this is H, and say we have a pump characteristics like this, and we have a system resistance curve, say this is the system resistance curve and this is the curve. So, this is the operating point. So, this is the operating point. So, I am writing this is operating point and this is H system. In fact, I will write capital H, this is H system and this is H pump. Okay. So, why I was discussing this part that this loss I mean is not desirable at all. See, this is the operating point and as I told you that in pumping stations, in all pumping stations, operators are there to operate pump. Why operators are there? Because of course, pump may start malfunctioning, there might be different other problems associated with the pump, drivers, that is the whether it is operated or driven by an electric motor or diesel engine. So, to take all those undesirable phenomenon into consideration, normally pump operators are there. So, if this is the operating point and you can understand that if we try to project this particular point in H and cube axis, definitely we will try to get the operation operating discharge and operating head, right. Now, you see that in any case the pump operator, maybe because of the requirement of the system itself, he or she is doing, he or she is closing the delivery valve even more. So, as I told you first, so if I now try to write, so this is basically operating point and say this is Q operating and this is H operating. Okay. Fine. See, question is, I mean, if for any reason, if the operator closes the delivery valve further, then the this curve will be slightly steeper, right. So, basically we try to, what you can see from the physical understanding that we need relatively less discharge from the pump. So, we need to close the delivery valve and this curve will be slightly steeper and maybe it is now coming to the new place and this is the new operating point. Okay. So, this is operating point P, now this is P1 and you can understand that in this case the discharge that will be handled by the pump will be definitely lesser than what we had earlier, right. So, question is, if so, now what you can see from this curve is that now pump is having, I mean rather the head will be slightly higher from that we can see from this diagram. Now, this is a natural tendency of all system, that the system will try to have least resistance for its operation, and of course, pumping station is not an exceptional event from that perspective. So, any system will always try to encounter, any system will always try to run with a least system resistance. So, that means if by any chance operator closes the valve furthermore, then the pump will, so you can see that again it will come to here, that is the maximum head, and as I told you that the system and pumping system is not an exception, we will always try to run at a relatively lesser resistance, system resistance. So, what will happen? The curve will now shift over here. So, this is P1, and in any case if operator closes the valve further and if the point comes over here, that is P2, right. So, this is P2, let me erase it. So, this is P2. Now, so when we are getting operating point over here, of course, our objective is to have even lesser discharge from the pumping station. We can see what is going to have. The consequence is that the operating point is now here, maybe we are getting less discharge, but the head that the pumping station is the pump is encountering, so that is the maximum. So, maximum discharge, maximum head. Now, as I told you that the system will have always affinity towards the very less system resistance, then what will happen? The point will quickly turn move to this particular point, as if now earlier we had this is the operating point. Now, the pump will quickly move from P2 to this P3 point, and as if now system. So, this P3, now as if the system is having, see the earlier operating point is this, and that is why the pump is designed, because whenever we need a pump, we need to provide data to the pump designer that we need discharge and head. Of course, the pump should be able to provide 20 plus minus 25% of its rated discharge. So, maybe if the pump is designed to provide discharge Q operating, then plus minus 25% of this value pump will be able to supply without any difficulties. But if it is so that now operating point will shift from P2 to P3, and then you can see that this P3, I mean since if P3 is within that limit, within this bandwidth that the pump is capable of supplying discharge I mean plus minus 25% of its design value, then as if pump will now fluctuate between P3 and P. So, basically you can see, and that is what is the design head. So, now pump will operate at design head, but we are getting two different values of discharge, that is Q of Q3 and QP, okay. And this is very detrimental for the pumping operation, as if instead of having continuous flow, we are supposed to get from this pumping station, that is the flow is intermittent, and that is not desirable at all, okay. And to avoid that, what is done? So, to avoid that, somehow I mean instead of having this kind of initial rising trend and then further falling, that is the pump own HQ characteristics, if we somehow can reduce it, if we somehow can eliminate this part, then perhaps this problem can be eliminated. So, now if I now try to instead of having this part, if the curve is like this, right. So, instead of the earlier one, if the pump own characteristic curve can be represented by this green line, then perhaps this problem can be eliminated, okay. Because even though the operator has closed the valve and the operating point is coming to P2, and in that point system, if we if system is try to I mean this is not the maximum head, because maximum head is the shut off head, right. So, the problem associated with this type of trouble, I can say undesirable effect can be eliminated. If we need to do so, then perhaps that is essential that the separation losses for which the shut off head is reduced can be rather should be eliminated or should be minimized. We really cannot eliminate it, but our objective should be that whenever a pump designer should design a pump, he or she should keep in mind that the losses due to separation of flow at the pump suction side should be minimum, so that instead of having the pump characteristics curve like this, we should have a continuously drooping characteristics, so that the problems that we have discussed can be eliminated, okay. So, if we have understood correctly, our objective should be to have a system resistance curve. So, this is pump curve H cube. So, our objective is that we should have a curve like this. So, this is most desirable. This is the most desirable curve that we should look for. Okay. Now, by how, and that is what I am trying to discuss. Okay. So, if we now try to go to the, I mean here just if we write that is what I have discussed, if I can recall correctly in the last class, that this is the pump, right. So, this pump is used to deliver water at a certain, in certain areas of a station, and it is taking water from a sump. Right. And so, as I told you, there will be recirculation losses at the pump suction site. See, this recirculation losses not only making the curve from its continuous drooping characteristics to this type, that is initially increasing trend and then finally decreasing, but also see once this kind of vortices or eddies are formed at the pump suction site, for their survival these eddies will try to get or extract energy from the mean flow, right. So, and that again will lead to another important, rather I can say great rather this particular phenomenon, that is a recirculation separation losses, the formation of eddies at the pump suction site will have significant effect on the pump operation, that we will discuss slowly. But for the timing, at least you should know that here that this pump is drawing water from a reservoir, from a tank which is located say Hs distance but below the pump datum axis, right. In this case again I am telling, until and unless liquid reaches at the inlet to the pump, there is no energy addition. Try to understand. So, what I am telling, the pump is taking water from this reservoir, in this particular part, that is the pump itself, whether it is driven by the electric motor or by a diesel engine, the energy addition is there in the pump itself. So, energy will be added to the fluid when fluid will be reaching at the inlet to the impeller. So, until and unless fluid reaches to the inlet of the impeller, inlet to the pump, there is no energy addition that we can see, that we have understood. So, that means what is the driving force? Driving force, so this is open to atmosphere. Now, the atmospheric pressure that is acting on this particular free surface, liquid surface, that pressure and the pressure at the inlet to the impeller, if it is Pi, right. So, this Pi, PATM minus Pi, this is the delta P and this is the driving pressure difference for the flow of fluid, flow of liquid from the suction reservoir to the inlet of the pump, right. So, only the driving energy, driving force to have a flow, a continuous flow of fluid from the reservoir to the inlet to the pump is this delta P. So, this is the driving force, driving pressure gauge, driving pressure, right. Now, why I am going to discuss this part? Now, you can understand no energy addition takes place in the suction pipe line, that means energy addition will be definitely there when the liquid will be reaching at the inlet to the pump, but if the eddies are formed at the pump suction site, there is no energy addition, only this driving force is responsible for the transport of liquid from this point 1, say this is from this reservoir to the inlet. Now, for the survival of the eddies, eddies will form because of this non-uniform velocity distribution in the suction pipe line, but once the eddies are formed, these eddies will try to survive there. So, for their own survival they will try to extract energy from the mean flow, and as a result of which basically this driving pressure force will be reduced, and if the driving pressure reduces, Now, at anywhere in the suction line, pressure at anywhere in the pump suction line, the static pressure at any point may fall the vapor pressure at the prevailing temperature, right. So, try to understand this Pi is basically I am telling that if this PATM is reduced, the I mean the formation of eddies will try to for their own survival they will try to extract this delta P. So, the pressure which is there Pi, that will be even less. Now, if the pressure is less, not only even at Pi, but anywhere in the pump suction line, pressure if it is less, then the prevailing rather the vapor pressure of the fluid, rather static pressure at any point in the suction line as well as at the inlet of the pump falls below the vapor pressure at that prevailing temperature, then again what we know, what we have seen, what we have studied from thermodynamics, that boiling will take place, and it has again a significant consequence I mean I can say for the pump operation. Okay. So, at least that part we will be discussing, but for the time being we can understand that eddies are formed, and if the eddies are formed, it will kill, it will destroy a significant portion of the driving force, and that is reducing the shut off head from H shut off, I mean drastically we can see from the, in fact if we go to the previous slide you can see that shut off is getting reduced from this point to this point. Okay. So, our objective should be that whenever pump designer will design a particular pump, he should at least take into effect, again I am telling it is really impossible to completely reduce or eliminate the occurrence of those eddies. Those eddies will be there, but at least what we can do is that we can take the effect of the formation of those eddies into account by doing something, so that the problem associated with this kind of things can be eliminated. Okay. One such effect is the known as the inclusion of kinetic energy correction factor. So, if I now try to discuss about the kinetic energy correction factor. That is known as, okay. So, what is kinetic energy correction factor? That means, if we try to write, so that you have studied in fluid mechanics course, but again I am writing just for the case, say this is the pump and this pump is supplying water and taking water from a reservoir. And this is say Hs. Okay. So, this is what we have discussed, that this is the suction line and the separation losses will be there on account of the non-uniform velocity distribution. So, velocity distribution is not uniform. So, if we do not take, rather if we calculate the entire things considering the fact that velocity is uniform, then perhaps the loss of energy due to the formation of eddies and also their sustenance, I mean they will survive. So, that will not be there, and probably we will design pump, but that pump when the pump will be placed in a pumping station, then we will encounter different problems for its operation. So, the smooth operation I can say. Okay. So, now I am telling you that so this P by gamma plus V square by 2g plus Z equal to constant, that is what we have studied, that is the Bernoulli equation. So, it represents the total energy, right. Now, question is, this equation can be applied at any sections. So, provided this velocity is uniform, right, at velocity of fluid is uniform in that particular cross section, but this is hardly or seldom true because it is not there in most of the rather in almost all the practical applications. So, this is why, so this application is the validity of this application is that the velocity is uniform, right, velocity is uniform at the section where this equation is applied, right. So, say if I apply this equation from between this between the point 1 and this point 2, right, then we have to consider that velocity is uniform and this is seldom true in all the practical applications. Okay. So, this is not the case. Now, question is, if this is not the case, then we will definitely encounter the problem that we have, that is what we have discussed. So, what we need to do, I mean whenever designer will design the pump, right. See, again I am telling, I mean what is the driving force to have a flow of liquid between point 1 and point 2, right. That is, if we apply steady flow energy equation. So, this is nothing but the energy equation. So, that means if I write that P ATM by gamma is nothing but P 2 by gamma plus V 2 square by 2 g plus H s plus H f s, okay, plus V 1 square by 2 g. This is the steady flow energy equation between two sections, that is between points 1 and 2, right. Question is, the V 1 and V 2 should be uniform, and that is hardly true, that is seldom true for all the practical applications. So, sometimes what is done, because cross sectional area of this particular tank is much higher than the pipeline, that is at the point 2, cross sectional area of pipe at point 2. So, this term is neglected. So, anyway, what is important to know at this point of time is that if we calculate that this is the driving pressure difference, that is P ATM minus P 2 by gamma, calculating velocity, considering velocity should be uniform over the sections 1 and 2, then perhaps we will be doing mistake, and that amount of driving force should not be available, because velocity is not uniform, and because of this non uniform velocity distribution, eddies will form, separation losses will be there, and that will kill, that will distract some amount of driving pressure force, driving pressure difference, and as a result of which we will design the pump definitely, but that design is not the correct or perfect design. Do you understand? So, basically what we need to do, we need to ensure that fine we can apply this energy equation, steady flow energy equation between these 2 points to calculate the driving pressure difference, but at least we should be sure that velocities V 2 and V 1, I mean if we even ignore the V 1 at this velocity at point 2 which is uniform, not only at point 2, everywhere, see if we try to apply, right. So, if we need to know that velocity is uniform, then this is fine, but this is not true, that is what I was talking about. So, we need to introduce one term, that is kinetic energy correction factor. So, what is done using this concept, that is what you have known. So, what is calculated? So, now if I just consider this particular section, so I am taking this particular section 2, and if we go to the I mean say this is section 2, and if we now consider this is the section, right, and this is the V 2. Okay. So, if we consider this pipe, so this is suction pipe, right, and if area is A, area of this small area, this is A, small area, that is what I have taken A, now which is perpendicular in the direction of flow velocity V 2, right. So, what is considered, if we need to know velocity is not uniform, but we cannot apply that equation, that is what we have written in the previous slide, if the velocity is not uniform. But knowing fully that velocity is uniform, what we need to do? We need to calculate velocity at different cross section of this particular area, right. We have to calculate kinetic energy, that is V square by 2 at every cross section, V square by 2 g, right. So, we need to calculate velocity at different portion of this particular cross section. We have to calculate kinetic energy, at different portion of this cross section and then you have to integrate, and that is what we have studied in our classical fluid mechanics, right. So, basically you know what is mass of that fluid at this particular section, because I was talking about, rather I have introduced the word kinetic energy, right. In fact, if we try to go back, this is kinetic energy correction factor, right. So, what is mass? In fact, I will write, I will erase, I will be taking mass of liquid, and that is what, that will be I mean if I take small, I mean if I take area small d a, some small area. So, I can write small that is d a. So, it should be rho V 2 into d a, right. That is the mass flow rate per unit, right. So, this is mass of the liquid. Now, mass flow rate per unit time, and that is what we have written, that is rho V 2 d a. Then what will be kinetic energy? What will be kinetic energy of that mass? So, that would be what? Rho V 2 d a into V 2 square by 2, right. So, this is the kinetic energy. Understand, though we have calculated kinetic energy over here, but we did not take, rather we did not consider whether the velocity is uniform over there or not, but still if we try to recall that the equation what we have written in the last slide, that this equation if we try to apply to calculate the driving pressure difference, then this velocity must be uniform, right, but that is not the case. So, what I said, that to ensure that velocity is uniform, then at least we need to calculate. So, this is the area that is shown over here, and we need to consider different portions of this cross sectional area, and we have to calculate velocity of that particular portion, and then we have to calculate a kinetic energy and finally integrate them. So, if we consider that, let I am telling, let capital V be the velocity, the mean velocity, rather mean velocity. So, I am writing, rather in fact I am highlighting the word mean velocity, right. This is the mean velocity of flow, and alpha be the kinetic energy. Correction factor, right. So, what is, why this is? So, this is basically the, I am taking that now it is, we have to consider different portions, we have to calculate velocity at that, all these portions, we have to calculate kinetic energy of the flow of all these portions, and we have to integrate them. So, it is, can we not consider that the average velocity of that particular cross section V, and alpha is the kinetic energy. Now, this is the kinetic energy. So, what is kinetic energy of the flow at that particular section? So, what is the total kinetic energy? You have to integrate, right. So, basically if we now go to the, so the, this is kinetic energy, and then what I can write, then the kinetic energy considering the average velocity should be equal to alpha rho into a into v cube by 2. So, rho a v. So, if we now consider v is the average velocity. So, capital V the average velocity, then at least rho a into v, that is the mass flow rate per unit time, into v square by 2, that is the kinetic energy, but this is should be multiplied by the kinetic energy correction factor, since this V is the average velocity, because V will definitely change from this wall to that wall if we traverse in the transverse direction. So, this is the kinetic energy, that is what we can write. So, this is equation number 2 and this is equation number 1. So, now the kinetic energy that we have written in equation 1, that is at that particular section. So, if we try to integrate, that is a total kinetic energy. So, that is total kinetic energy. So, from equation 1 we can write total kinetic energy, that will be equal to rho V2 cube by 2 into dA integral, right, over that particular area, and that is nothing but rho into what, that is rho by 2 into V2 cube dA. So, this is dA, I am sorry I have to write it. So, this is dA, this is dA. Okay. So, now this is equation number 2. So, this is the total kinetic energy. Now, this equation will be equal to the equation number 2. So, if we now try to go back to the previous slide. So, if we now consider the V is the average velocity, that is uniform, right. So, considering the V is the average velocity and that is uniform over the cross section, and considering that uniform velocity, if we try to calculate the total kinetic energy, and that is given alpha into rho into A capital V cube by 2. Mind it, to approximate that the V which is the velocity is uniform over that cross section, we had to consider this alpha, that is kinetic energy correction factor, right. Definitely V is not uniform everywhere at different sections, but still we are considering that the uniform velocity will be capital V and that is multiplied by alpha. So, that alpha will take care the effect of non uniformity of the velocity at that particular section. Okay. So, now if we try to equate equation 2 and 3, then what we can write, alpha into rho into A into V cube by 2. So, basically equating equations 2 and 3, we get what, we get alpha rho A V cube by 2 will be equal to rho by 2 integral V2 cube dA, right. So, that means what we can write is that alpha, that is nothing but 1 upon A integral, this is A integral A V2 divided by capital V cube dA, right. So, this is the kinetic energy correction factor equation, right. So, this is the kinetic energy correction factor equation. So, this kinetic energy correction factor alpha, because what is the value of alpha, that we should know. So, you can understand that if we now from the above equation, it is seen that alpha, it is kinetic correction factor. So, this alpha kinetic energy correction factor depends on what? So, depends on the velocity distribution V2 by capital V, V is the average velocity. So, you have studied in pipe flow that we obtain the velocity distribution if you try to have some exact solution of the Navier-Stokes equation, and if we try to calculate the velocity profile, and then if we take the if we calculate average velocity, and if we then make the velocity, if we normalize the velocity by the average velocity, then we will get this V2 by V, and that is nothing but the velocity distribution, velocity profile that we will be getting in the dimensionless form. So, what we can see that the kinetic energy correction factor that depends on the velocity distribution at that particular section. So, if we now try to go back, if we try to write, so this is pipe. So, I mean if we take this particular cross section, in that cross section, I mean if we try to calculate the alpha, the value of alpha will depend on the velocity distribution at that particular cross section. So, basically that is, and which is also dependent on the viscous shear, right. So, the velocity distribution whether it is parabolic, it is plug type or any other profile. So, it depends on the viscous shear stress. So, the kinetic energy correction factor depends on the velocity distribution at that particular section, that is nothing but the dependent, and that is also dependent of the viscous shear stress, viscous shear. Okay. So, now I mean if we write the equation, then we can write I mean if we try to go back this particular section, that if we now try to write this this equation between section 1 and section 2, definitely I mean if we can write now that we write P ATM by gamma plus alpha 1 into V 1 square by 2 equal to P 2 by gamma plus alpha 2 into V 2 square by 2 plus H s plus H f s, right. So, this is alpha 1 and alpha 2, these two kinetic energy correction factors are there. Definitely you can ignore this velocity V 1 because of the significantly larger cross sectional area of the tank itself, but this alpha 2 kinetic energy correction factor that should be taken into account essentially to have the effect that will arise due to the formation of eddies, vortices, etc. Okay. Now, question is this alpha is 1, always greater than 1. So, alpha equal to 2 for circular pipe, that is you can get from any fluid mechanics book. So, alpha is always greater than 1. So, greater the velocity variation, because now alpha is always greater than 1. If alpha is much greater than 1, then velocity variation is much you can see. So, velocity V 2, I mean now if we now look at this, V 2 is definitely not equal to V 1, right. So, definitely average velocity is not equal, so velocity variation is there, right. So, if alpha is more, then the velocity variation is high, okay, but alpha is equal to 2 is considered for the circular pipe. So, what we have understood in today's class is that definitely the pump should have a continuously drooping characteristic, and to have this continuously drooping characteristics, the losses due to separation at the pump suction side should be minimized, right. It cannot be completely reduced, but it should be minimized. Now, question is to minimize it, at least the pump designer should take the rather should design the pump properly, and if someone needs to design the pump, at least we are engineer. So, if we are allowed, if we are given a task to design a pumping station, then at least we should take into account all these effects. So, that is coming from the fluid mechanics, that velocity is not uniform, and this non-uniformity of the velocity distribution gives rise to the formation of vortices, and if vortices are formed, they will try to extract the driving energy from the driving energy, and if the driving energy is reduced at any cross section, that is what I was talking about, that if we now go to this particular case, that at that particular point, that is point 2, if the pressure is definitely will be less than the atmospheric pressure, otherwise there will not be flow. So, pressure at point 2 is less than atmospheric pressure, and that is why known as negative pressure. If the pressure, the static pressure of the fluid at that section falls below the vapor pressure at that prevailing temperature, then boiling will takes place, and it will lead to different and rather different, not I can say different, but it will lead to another important detrimental effect for the pump operation, and that we will discuss in the next class. So, with this I stop my discussion today, and we will continue our discussion in the next class. Thank you.